My name is Laura.
My name is Eric.
And welcome to Rowtons Museum of the Paranormal and Spirituality in 𝐂𝐚𝐻𝐿𝐻, Wales. We have over 250 years worth of religious history on this site. So we're standing in the beautiful Penuel Chapel. And in terms of supernatural history, what is of most interest actually happened here at the end of the 19th century with the arrival of Reverend W.S. Jones. So he was a very special man and he had had some very special experiences. He was Swansea born, but he grew up in the United States and began his preaching there before coming to Penuel on a visit. When he came here, he fell in love with the building and decided to move here to become their full-time reverend. Now, before he set off from America, he had an extraordinary experience, what is recorded as a baptism of power. So the Holy Spirit is said to have entered his body and actually healed him, divinely healed him of a medical condition. And when he arrived at Penuel, he went on and did that for other people. Whilst he was here, there was lots of faith healing in this building and also what is said to have been supernatural manifestations. So we don't know exactly what these are. They could have been anything. They could have been spirits of loved ones. They could have been angels. They could have been bright white manifestations of the Holy Spirit in this building. But what we do know is that by 1904, when Reverend Jones actually departed this chapel, it was so well known in the local community that faith healing took place here, that the congregation, when they were sick, they wouldn't go and seek medical treatment from a doctor or go and have surgery. They would come here instead. And it was so popular, what happened here, that in 1909, they were actually able to raise enough funds to completely refurbish the interior of this building to what it is today. And that included adding seats for 800 people. And we have beautiful Canadian redwood here, a beautiful big organ. All of this was put in at that time because the congregation believed so strongly in what they were experiencing here. So strongly, in fact, that they all wanted a view of it. So our building is Grade 2 listed. And one of the reasons it is because every seat in this chapel is very special in the way that every seat affords a view of the altar, an uninterrupted view, because people were coming here to see something supernatural, extraordinary, magical. So our first exhibit here is actually on angels. So we have our Archangel Michael here, and perhaps he's quite unusual. Maybe you're used to seeing angels with big white fluffy wings, but he has peacock wings because the peacock's actually an ancient sacred symbol that appears all over the world, particularly in relation to angels, these messenger beings who deliver divine messages from God, the creator, the universe, whatever you think. And because Penuel has such a supernatural history in terms of faith healing and supernatural manifestations, messenger beings coming here in order to help people, we like to introduce people to the idea of angels. And interestingly, people that we've had come and investigate the museum, the theme of angels continues into the modern day. We've actually had one lady, she said that she had a vision of 3 white-winged angels in the chapel. Someone else said that they saw a great big white light being in another vision actually standing on the altar, and they were so large that they actually extended all the way up to the organ. So there seems to be a continuation of angelic imagery in this part of the building. So as we go around the museum, you'll notice that we have what we like to call a traffic light system here. Little cards that are either red, yellow or green. And they're there to point out items that are paranormally active, in the case of the red cards, or items that come from locations of paranormal significance. We also have yellow cards that signal items that come from what we like to call stressed environments. So whilst not necessarily haunted themselves, they certainly come from somewhere that has an energy all of its own. And then we also have green carded items which are predominantly in the chapel portion, and those artifacts are associated with positive paranormal activity. So you can introduce the cards if you like.
So over here we have a small exhibit on divination, and particularly these cards right here. Now they look like ordinary playing cards, but actually they have little fortunes on them. Now they're quite old, from the beginning of the 20th century, and they've been very, very well worn. So we have a red label on them because there's said to be an energy to it. Like people have experienced a sort of presence, something about them. Whoever used these cards were a practitioner themselves, and it's lingering there still.
In this case here, we have what we call two of our star artifacts, and they are magic or talismanic scrolls from Ethiopia, dating to the early 20th century, and they're actually artifacts of exorcism. They were made for two people said to be suffering from demonic possession, and they are made of vellum, goat skin, and they are each the length of the person that they were made for. And they're written in a sacred Semitic language, and they have three parts. The first part is against the evil eye. The second part, in the case of one, is against the demon responsible for infant mortality, and in the case of the other, the demon responsible for miscarriage. And then the third part of both is a ritual act of demonic binding. So if you are of that mindset, it may be that a demon is actually bound to these scrolls. The idea being that the person who is afflicted, the demoniac, would use these scrolls in order to extract the demon from them. So they're actually anointed with blood from a sacrificial animal. Then they have angelic imagery on them as well, and the person would have carried the scroll rolled up on their person, or perhaps at night when they're in bed, they would have unfurled the scroll and hung it there for them to just look at the letters and to have that demonic energy pulled out from them into the scroll. Interestingly though, on Halloween, we were doing a big vigil in here with a big group of people, and we kept seeing, you saw a flash of light here in this corner.
It was a bit more than a flashlight. It was like a, how can I describe it? It's like an egg-like prism of light that just kept refracting as I looked at it. Sort of like orange, red, deep red colors coming from this particular area right here. It was as we were preparing. I was not even, it wasn't even dark, I don't think, at the time. And I was quite stunned by that. I was like, whoa, what on earth is that? It almost looked like an alien almost, or something like that, something trying to come through from a dimension.
That's actually crazy, because we've had something like that at, you know, the legendary 30 East Drove, Jace, with the orange red fireball, we call it. And we had something like that, and he built up, and then he got bigger and bigger. It was like a firecracker went off, and then it shot out through the window.
Jesus.
Like something was trying to manifest.
Yeah. Well, that's what it kind of was for that. It was like a fireball. That's a good description of it.
But later on,
Did you have a noise for it? Did it sound like anything?
No,
we were too far. We were all the way over there. But later on in the night, everyone kept hearing footsteps from here, and we were kind of, because there was 15 of us, and we were rotating around. And at one point I came and sat in here by myself, and there was no one above me, but I could hear footsteps. So we were keeping a close eye on this corner, because everyone, at one point there's no one here, and everyone kept pointing, there's something moving there, there's a light, there's sound. So we don't know whether it's the chapel, something related to this corner of the building, or one of the objects here.
It's the demonic scrolls.
Red label.
Well, during our paranormal investigations of the museum, we give everyone K2s, so everyone can have experiences. And it was setting off around here and right above here as well. A bunch of times with responses.
Yeah.
You'll need more than cards, you need red tape.
We have a few different staircases in the building, but this is our creepiest one because it's on the creepy corridor. So corridors and staircases are notorious in terms of paranormal reputations, and this one's no different. From the moment we moved in here, we had experiences here, so we've only been here since August, but very early on. So one of my personal stories is that Eric was upstairs on the gallery. I think you were putting the internet in or something like that, and my dad was here helping as well. So he was in the chapel and he was hanging a cupboard up on the wall. So I just left them both and was going down the corridor. And as I turned the corner, I just kind of looked back and saw somebody come down the stairs, immediately do a turn and go back up. And they were dressed in black. And Eric was also dressed in black that day, and because he was up there, I thought it was him. I thought, that's strange, because I've just left him. Why would he come down just to go back up? So I called to him and start making my way back. But there was no one on the stairs, and when I went up to check, he hadn't moved from where he was, and neither had my dad. But what I saw was fully opaque. It was not a wispy shadow, it was a full person. So that was really strange.
And there was another story as well, connected with those LED strips right there, right around the time you were putting them in.
Yeah.
So they weren't turned on or anything. So you had just put them in, came down, noticed, oh wait, they're on. That's weird. Did someone accidentally turn them on? Did you do it? So you went back up the stairs, and I went with you, and you went to go check it. And the only way to turn on those lights is a little remote control. Now this remote control had a little strip of plastic in it, separating out the battery from the controls. So it was impossible that remote control could have turned on those lights. So we came back downstairs, freaked by that little supernatural appearance, and I was around here, and right around where I'm standing now, I saw a man dressed with a shirt made like a khaki shirt, 2 double pockets, very clearly could see that, and as soon as I saw it, it turned into an oil slick of color, so I think I could describe it as, and bolted in that direction. Now there's a door here, which leads to the graveyard. So that is where that weird apparition ran to.
So it's a real convergence here, because it links the 2 parts of the building, the chapel to the schoolroom. You have the stairs up and you have the door out as well. Whenever we get guests, people always see things. We had Amy and Jared from Amy's Crypt here a couple of months ago, and we weren't even investigating, we were just talking, and the cameras weren't rolling. And Amy I just saw something move. It happens very often. Well, there's movement on this corridor.
Well, the other day we were doing an event here in the evening, and I was there standing by the little exhibit there on protective charms, and I was explaining it to a guest. And right behind you, in that corner, I saw like a shadowy humanoid entity move like this across the corner, looking at what we're doing. And when I spotted them, they went like this, like a peekaboo. It's like this peek, and then it just disappeared right afterwards. And it actually stunned me, because I was just sort of talking to you like now. I was like, I have to be like that excuse me, I just saw an apparition, I need a moment. And it was kind of like that.
Yeah. So this is where we host our seance evenings. They're quite intimate, no more than 6 guests, and then Eric and I as well, where we recreate a Victorian seance. And we have different artifacts in here, many relating to Victorian death and mourning. So for example, we have this beautiful 1890s mourning dress that would have been worn by a lady in deep mourning, so either for grieving her spouse or a child. And we like to point out about Victorian death and mourning because the Victorians were so connected with grief and bereavement that really set the scene for the emergence of spiritualism and seances.
Well, that's what this whole room is about, sort of to recreate that interest, that sort of passion for trying to speak with the other side. We use authentic methods from the Victorian eras, which includes automatic writing planchettes, just listening for noises, Ouija boards, whatever that they would have used, we use it in here in this place. Try to create that atmosphere.
So we actually have some antique and vintage boards down here. So this one in the case here dates to 1919, so it's an original William Fuld board, and you can imagine it dating to that period. People would have used this potentially to communicate with their lost loved ones after the First World War. So it has its original planchette as well.
We bought this purely for his historical significance, being an original one from the time when William Fuld was around. And we haven't had anything, I mean, you know, arguably you could say you can feel an energy from it just because of its age and for what it is. But we haven't messed with it too much. We just like to preserve this piece. Yeah,
and these 3 up here all date to the 1940s. So we like to point out this one in particular because it was made by the 𝐂𝐡𝐚𝐩𝐿𝐼 Manufacturing Corporation, so that's an American company, and they specialized in a special type of bonded plywood, so they would make boats and planes and things like that. But by the 1940s, the Ouija board was so popular that everyone was cashing in on it commercially, including the 𝐂𝐡𝐚𝐩𝐿𝐼 Manufacturing Corp. So in 1942, they released this board and they sold 4 million copies. in that first year alone. And they're the knockoff brand, they're not Ouija. So very, very popular. Everybody wanted to use these boards.
But down here we do have something we've had experience with, and it's an innocuous little piece of a window, but from a very infamous location. It's the Amityville house from the Amityville Horror.
Not the movie. Not the movie, the real...
The real original house.
Yeah, so the story goes that after the Lutz family had their now notorious and infamous experience in the Amityville house, new owners moved in, and because of the popularity of the film and particularly the way the house looks, it's very iconic, especially its windows, they wanted to distance themselves from that story and the film and the haunting. So they changed some of the windows and they just put them into the garage and forgot about them until recently a company that specializes in horror film memorabilia was able to acquire them and chop them up and sell them as little bits of memorabilia. But we like them because it explores the idea that if you have a piece of the whole, does it represent the whole? And obviously Amityville there's so many stories connected to it. Undoubtedly some are false or embellished, but maybe there is truth underneath it all. And as Eric mentioned, we've had some strange experiences with those little pieces of wood.
Well, on the lighter note, every single time we do a tour here, Laura comes over here and she puts on a light. Actually,
well, I'll put the light on now.
See if it turns off. Because every single time she does a tour, it turns off and flickers off, glitches. Doesn't like to be on, doesn't like to do what he said. Maybe it will do something as we're speaking. But I've seen a more dramatic little thing, and it has to do with this little piece right there. Now, this little piece, she was putting it into another cabinet we have here in the museum, and at that time, and as she was putting it and placing it, it made a beeline straight for Laura's face, like defying gravity, like straight at it like a bullet. And she swatted it away like a fly, like she hit it like that and just flung it. And she, at the time, it was like you didn't even notice it was something paranormal. You were just like, oh. She was really tired, so she was like, just get back in your place. And then she moved out. I was like, did you realize that thing just tried to attack you?
Yeah.
The light just went off.
Yeah. So it's not on an automatic, no. You can set them on an automatic sensor, but I do 2 clicks on that one to leave it on full time. So before we do a guided tour, I'll go around and turn all the lights on, ready. And this one is never on by the time we get up here, even though other ones are. So I've got into the habit where I'll just leave it off and I'll turn it on once I actually get to this point, as I did just then. And then in the middle of explaining the story, it will turn off.
Yeah, it seems to be always around the same time, isn't it, as well?
Yeah, it doesn't do it, because we have a few of those lights in different cabinets, and it doesn't happen with any other object, it's just that one.
And when you think how important the windows are to that story, isn't it? That they saw like the image of a pig demon in the windows.
So this is the Amityville Horror story, and there's one of the illustrations. So the little girl, she would see this pig demon that she actually called Jody. I think it was her friend. She would see this in one of the windows, and that's a drawing of it scampering away in the snow. So she would see that in the window. And then also there's the story of the boy who lived in the house, Danny. There's the window before it was chopped. He had his fingers resting on the windowsill of the open window, and supposedly all of a sudden the window came down and crashed on his fingers and trapped them in.
Lovely.
So the windows are quite crucial to that story, yeah.
Oh, this is nice.
This is our paranormal laboratory, so we have all bits and pieces of tech in here, which
look at all these
no
chairs.
doubt you're familiar with, but perhaps you're not familiar with this one on the end here. So this is actually a video spirit box. So it's a little old TV that's actually been rigged and modified by an Italian mad scientist, we'll call him.
Eric.
No, genuinely an Italian mad scientist. So what he's done, well, we don't know fully what he's done. He's put a special antenna in it, and it also has a word bank. So we can get this out and show you afterwards. So it shows words on the screen, and it will just flick through them, the same as a spirit box, just on a fast scan rate. But when you start interacting with it, it seems like the words start to form sentences.
It has been very eerie when we've used it a few times, because you will ask it questions, you'll see how the words will come out, and then it will start to form sentences if it wants to speak with you.
Yeah.
So see if it comes on
Yeah,
there.
it's still warming up.
Is that portable, or can you actually take that around? Has they got batteries and?
No, it has 2 plugs as well, because the antenna has a separate. Like I said, I don't know fully what he's done to it, but the antenna has a separate plug.
Okay. And what else we got here? We got just your spirit boxes.
Yeah, so that's a hacked radio, and then obviously spirit boxes.
Dead bell.
Different REM pod, dead bell, REM pod.
And we have a variety of objects which we've
REM pod teddies.
Yeah. This is a music box with a REM pod inside.
Yeah, this was specially designed. That one, so it's a trigger object as well. So there you go. It will just start.
Oh, we just said 4 then.
Yeah, it was just start spitting out words, but then when you start interacting and talking to it, it seems to make sense after a bit. This is a schoolroom, which is where we keep our most active objects. So you'll see lots of red cards in here. So this one, for example, was donated to us. It's just simply a little glass cloche. But the story behind this is that a young mother, she purchased it offline, off the internet, just to house a little knick-knack or whatever. And when she got it, she realized that it had scratches on it. So there's a picture here so you can see the scratches better, but in the right light, you can still see them on it. So obviously, that's not very good for a decorative purpose. So she put it to one side, tried to return it, whatever, but just carried on with her life. But at that same moment, she started to experience paranormal activity. One of the first things that she experienced was a horrific nightmare. So she was in a cabin in this nightmare, and the door suddenly swings open, and this big man, werewolf figure comes into the cabin and immediately bites her head off. She wakes up horrified. But obviously that's just a nightmare. We all have bad dreams. But it didn't stop there. She started seeing shadowy figures around her, including one day she was driving along a rural road, and in her mirror, she claims that she saw the shadow of like a wolf or a big dog down the road after her. She also suffered physical attacks, including feeling like a burning, like acid-like scratch mark on her abdomen and things like that. And it got really bad, but she didn't instantly connect it to this. It was only about a couple of weeks later that she saw this just on her kitchen side or whatever again, saw the scratch marks, and then made the connection that was there a link between this wolf apparition that she was seeing and the claw marks on this glass cloche. So she actually tried to put it out for recycling, first of all. She just taped it together and put it out, but they didn't take it. So we had it, and this was before we had the museum. So at home, we had an outbuilding where we would keep all of our problematic items. So as soon as we got this, we put it in there with the rest, and this room's protected. But ultimately, we actually kicked it off our property entirely, which is the only object I've actually ever done that to. Because one day I went into this outbuilding, this storeroom, just for some other purpose, but I was in there, and I felt a big scratch sensation across my abdomen. And it was very similar to what she had reported. Yeah. So I was like, no, we're not having that. And we'd also had some strange nightmares as well, but that sort of thing possibly could have been dealt with. But that crossed a line, and obviously I was concerned. I was being hurt, I was concerned other people could be hurt. And also because of the nature of the other objects we had in that room, we didn't want this item potentially upsetting those objects. So we kept it in a safe location. At the time, I wasn't actually too concerned about ever retrieving it because it upset me. But when we got the museum, we did actually go and get it back and brought it here. And since it's been here, when people come and investigate, for example, they might use a spirit box, they'll get words like hound come through. We had someone come and do an Estes method session, and they had hell and hound and also runaway and things like that as well, which we think is very much connected to this object. This one, for example, is a mirror that we actually keep faced away, but you're welcome to look at the other side. So the story behind this is that it came to us from a man in Shropshire. So he collects and sells on old tools. So he bought a big chest of old tools at an auction. And when he got it home, underneath the old tools was this mirror. And there was also a Victorian doll with a screwdriver through its abdomen on top of the mirror. So he took one look at that and thought, I don't like this, burnt the chest and burnt the doll. He didn't burn the mirror, we eventually got it, but he said the mirror just gave him horrible vibes, horrible feelings from the start, and he wanted it gone. Now, interestingly, it does actually have help me scratched onto the back of it there.
Oh yeah, like really, really small.
Yeah, there's lots of other scratch marks as well, but they're the only letters, I believe.
And that's something that's associated with it, is like scratch marks, burn marks, like feeling like you're being branded is something that I think we've experienced. Really.
Yeah, so for that reason we keep it turned away, and like I said, you're welcome to look in it if you like, but we don't want to surprise anybody by them catching a glimpse of it.
Yeah. Look at your own risk, really. This is really that.
But it is a genuine Victorian mirror as well, so it is old, but we've had strange smells connected to it as well, like of urine and sulfur. So we think that given the scratch marks and the different activity that we've had reported, that maybe it was used ritualistically, particularly with the way that that doll was found on top of it. So this walking cane actually comes from Broadmoor Psychiatric Hospital.
Oh, lovely.
High security psychiatric hospital. So it actually has a little brass tag on which says HMP Broadmoor. So we got this to test the idea that if you get an object from a place like that, a stressed environment, might it have an energy all of its own? And for many, many months it seemed to be very, very quiet. And then on Halloween, when we did a big investigation here with members of the public, it decided to speak very loud.
The walking stick spoke?
Yeah.
So it began with me. I went upstairs and you were doing Ouija board with some other people. Wasn't speaking to the entity under the table, but seemed to have some activity. And I was like, would anybody like to come down with me? We're going to sit around these chairs here and just see what we can get off the cane. I'm not expecting much. So I sat down here. I put down a REM pod next to it, and I was just explaining to the people there what a REM pod was. And as I was explaining to it, it started to go off. I was like, what's this? So then I started asking questions. He was like, are you connected to the cane? Yep. Started lighting up. And he started answering my questions, and I was like, oh, are you a criminal? Yep. And I was like, it seemed to be almost like haughty, kind of like, yeah, I'm a criminal. So I was like, are you proud of the crimes you did? And then it went silent. And that's when I heard, up in the seance room where you still were, noise of like shuffling like that, really loud.
Yeah, so I was up there and I was using the glass on the table with the letters around it with a few people, and we were talking to somebody who wasn't very forthcoming about who they were. So I was like, okay, well, I know I'm going to close the session soon. So if you're not going to say who you are, how about you tell me, what do you think of that cane downstairs? So the glass went to the edge of the table as if that person was actually going to take a look at the cane downstairs. And then a new energy came on. And this energy was completely different. It was fast and it was aggressive. And it moved between the M and the Y, spelling my, over and over again. And it was really quite violent. I actually lost the glass a couple of times. And there was a couple of people in the group who weren't very experienced using a spirit board. And they didn't know anything about the cane because we had it under observation. It wasn't labelled as to what it was because we didn't want to influence anybody's experience. But of course, I knew where the cane had come from. And in my mind, I'm thinking, oh dear, who is on the board? Who is on this glass? This could be quite bad. So I try and seize control of the board to shut it down. I do some prayers and blessings and different things.
Meditation.
Yeah, a focused meditation in order to push my energy into the glass and get whoever's on it off. And as I'm doing that, the glass actually went onto its side at a 45-degree angle, and it was like held there as I was pushing that energy off until it eventually righted itself on the table, and I was able to close the session. So it was quite horror film like.
Yeah.
And then I closed the session, like you said, and we came down and we all sat in the circle together, and I then saw the REM pod going off as well. And it wouldn't just go off once, it would go off for an extended time in response to questions. And you yourselves probably know REM pods are quite difficult to set off.
Yeah, they are.
They normally don't really do anything.
No.
So it was really quite surprising that it was going off as much as it was.
Well, the questions that it answered is it was a criminal. It said that they were notorious criminal, that they were infamous. Seemed to be quite, like, almost have a certain level of authority. I would say I almost got the sense of the way they were acting that maybe they were even maybe mob related or something like that.
Jimmy Savile. Hold on, did he go to Broadmoor? Or did he visited Broadmoor, didn't he, Jimmy?
I'm not sure if he was incarcerated.
No,
I know
he
one of the Cray twins did,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Yorkshire Ripper.
Didn't Jimmy Savile just die? And it was after
He
died.
probably visited and gave
Yeah,
them
well,
all
I
like
think
a
he
pat on
went
the
all
back
over the
and-
place, didn't he?
Yeah,
He went
but-
all over.
Yeah.
Something else we got in a lot from different mediums and sensitives who come here. And they said this independently, once again, and it's my
It's not
favorite kind of it.
labelled, you can see it's
It's
not
not
labelled, they
labelled.
don't know what it is.
But they say they got the sense that this has been used to hurt somebody.
Yeah.
One even said to kill somebody.
Yeah.
So we've just finished walking around with Laura and Eric at this amazing museum. They've done a really good job with it. There's some interesting artifacts, and we're just going to film and do a bit of an investigation, just me and Griff, while they're walking around with the jack-o'-lantern. And we're just going to go through some of these objects. This one over there is one of my favourites. The mirror that is turned the opposite way and it's got "Help Me" engraved. Very spooky stuff. I do like the Broadmoor walking stick, and we've even got our own Amy's Crypt, our friend who's brought in and donated a desk over there. So we're just going to do something in here while we've got the place to ourselves. There is some contamination though going on in here, isn't there, Jace?
Yeah, there's a bit of contamination with the plexiglass, and then there's some knocking over there every now and again.
Yeah.
But
We are in the middle of a storm though, aren't we?
It is
Pretty much.
it is quite bad outside, and we am in Wales, so you can't ask the weather to be great here. And obviously I'm dying, if you didn't know.
Yeah,
through the stuff.
Griff's not in the best of shape
So
today.
this is probably, you're either not going to see me after this episode and I'll be dead, or I'm going to be in hospital for a bit. So let's get to it.
I mean, he's thinking on the positive side.
I always do.
Death or hospital.
Did you want to get night vision, or did you want to, did you want to stay in the light?
Yeah, we can go night vision because Griff's light is on its last legs. And to be fair, we've been in the light all day, haven't we?
We have,
Pretty
yeah.
much. So let's go in the dark. Let's see what we got.
Oh dear. If you see me, just
Collapse.
call ambulance.
I mean, people won't even be happy if I title that video.
I know, collapsed. Can't even talk
On
shit
death's
about.
door.
You can't even talk shit about your best mate who's dying now, can you? That's the problem. You know, what are you supposed to do? If you've been watching us, Spirit, we've been walking around this place. It's lovely. Obviously, dates back to the revamp, the 1900s early. 1908, were it?
A long time.
So that's when they had it all refurbed. Then it's obviously older than that. If you've been listening to us go around, where you've seen Eric and Laura talk to us and explain a lot of artifacts to us, apparently this is the evil room. This is the room where there's not very many nice spirits in here.
But it's the most protected.
So they've protected the room to seal you guys in. Now, me and Steve, we've travelled far and wide across the sliver that is England. And we wish you to come forward and show us that you're here. There's plenty of chairs for you to sit down on and talk to us. We haven't got any gadgets for you to play with. So if you could use the sitting of the chairs, if you could move some items, then that'd be our way of communicating with you tonight. We could get a few little gadgets out later, but at the moment, we're just trying to talk to you, trying to get a bit of understanding of who you guys are, why you're so evil. Are you going to come and haunt us? Steve always accepts the challenge.
Yeah, I always say you can always follow me back home.
So then we don't have to come to these places anymore. Imagine if you was like that person in the. Do you know how my hood just come down then?
Yeah.
I could have just played that out.
Something's just pulled your hood off.
Well, yeah, because my arm's there, that's there.
Yeah, and you mean full shot.
Yeah.
So that mannequin at the other haunted museum all over again.
Yeah, yeah.
That bald head.
The slidey silk
Yeah.
outfit.
You can hear a few voices there just going through doing a little tour, but we can easily distinguish what that is, where it's coming from.
A lot of resting noises in here.
In the place of rest.
Could we have a distinctive noise to show us that you are talking to us?
quite evil.
It is, to be honest. If you was in here on your own,
Yeah.
or if you were scared, don't matter if you was on your own, I'd stay in here anyway.
So what we're going to be doing while we're here is we are going to be going with Laura and Eric, and they're going to take us on a paranormal journey, and they're going to go through some of their methods of how they speak to spirit, and it'll be something different for me and Griff, because when we do these investigations, we always do the same kind of routine, the same thing, ask the same questions, and people's like, oh, you never get anything, or, it is what it is. But it's going to be fun for us just to see how Laura and Eric work, so that'll be fun. And I think we're going to go into the Seance Room and do some stuff in there. I think they're going to be doing like a Ouija boards. I mean, I know we're not like the biggest fans of the Ouija boards, but we'll be a part of it. And let's see if something can happen. But right now, we are calling out in this room. We've got the tripwire set up. I am going to just introduce myself. My name is Stephen, and I'm here with Griff.
You're right.
And we're here to capture evidence of the paranormal. Many mediums have been inside here, spiritualists, other ghost hunting teams, and they say they've seen things here, they've heard things, they've picked up on things. And we want to experience the same. I know we always ask for a sign. I don't know what kind of sign to ask for right now. I suppose we could start basic and easy.
So if there's anybody here that wishes to talk to us, doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter if you're evil, doesn't matter if you're good, doesn't matter if you're sad, you're bad, just come forward into these lights. Touch one of them. Allow us to speak to you through these lights.
It does sound good.
That was horrible.
You can just hear knocking and sounds all around you. So none of it's paranormal. I don't think.
Well, it wouldn't let you know. If there is some noises that we're hearing that are paranormal, could you do one now, please? If you don't want to enter the centre of the room, bang where your item is. That's one of the things that we get in when we do spirits, or like our ghost hunting, or when we search for spirits. All right, man.
I know.
It is peaceful.
Yeah.
But then that's sad for us, because we don't want it peaceful. We want things flipping over. I want someone to pick that cane up in the middle and hit me with it. I really do.
Start smacking you.
I want them mannequins to go over to Steve, start attacking him. I don't think people realise the actual stuff that me and Steve want to happen. We wouldn't know what our reaction would be until it would happen. But I believe I'd probably laugh to begin with.
In shock.
I'd just laugh like I'd be like, that's mad. You like that glass, do you?
This is the scratched glass.
Yeah, that's the wolf. You wanted the mirror next door, didn't you? Was it the mirror?
The mirror's on the one next to it. God, that sounds horrible. I thought it was behind this cover. I thought something was knocking on it, but it isn't. It's just the window.
It is horrible, though. That's the sad thing about it. Spirit, can you just answer one question for me? Are you here? Move something on this table in front of me if you are here.
Okay, so what we're going to do, we've spent actually quite a while in this main artifact room. We didn't get a lot, like I said, there's so much contamination with the wind because we do have a bloody storm outside. What we're going to do now is we're going to head over to the main chapel area with the benches because it's so atmospheric in there. And there are still more objects, and that's where they're seeing the fireball. It'd be cool if we actually can capture something like that on camera. And the exorcism pages and all that other good stuff.
I know them are really good, either them.
Yeah.
Like them the same height as the person that was having the exorcism on.
It is good.
It just sounds
so it'd be good to go and have a look at them a bit more. So we're going to head over there and see if we can capture anything. I don't even know where the other guys are.
Well, that's where the fireball was as well, wasn't it?
By the pieces of paper.
Yep. By the exorcism papers.
Let's walk through here.
Spirit. We can whisper if you wish, or we can talk. They've gone into the seance room. So I am up here. There are over 800 people that could fit in this room. Is there one with me today? Is there one spirit here? We know that churches, especially healing churches, some of the most powerful churches that we encounter. Within all of this that we do, I believe that we could talk to each other if you allowed it. Come forward.
I'd like to invite those of love and light and pure and good intention, come forward, please. Come and speak with us this evening. We have guests with us, people who've travelled to come and communicate with you, to get evidence of there being life after death, of there being a spirit realm. Can you come and speak with us, please? Can you move the glass? Imagine your energy like a spiral of white light going into the glass, please. Come forward, approach the table.
I'm showing you the pews, guys, because something might pick up on camera that I might not be able to pick up with my eyes. Join me. And help us. Sit down. Amen.
Spell something out for us. We've come to see you. We'd like a message. Give us a name. What's your name? We invite you in to speak.
I wish you all the best. If you wish to talk to us upstairs, we will talk to you in the seance room. Thank you. So yeah, just had a little talk to spirit in the pews. See if we got anything. You know. So there's a storm coming down here though.
That wind is something up here.
Yeah,
Isn't
it's-
it? Oh, that
It's
just
amazing that.
that just went off.
Did that flash?
Yeah, it did. Oh, are you here?
Is he moving now?
Oh yeah, we just had a little knock as well.
Come on.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Just go ahead, you can do it.
It's interesting it moved as soon
Yeah.
as that went off.
Yeah. Come on.
Oh, okay.
N?
N.
Oh. No.
No.
You don't want to speak with us?
Is that correct? You don't want to speak to us? You can get a Y for yes.
Is that correct?
I'll spell out no again if that's not correct. Do you want to speak with us?
As soon as Griff starts to come upstairs,
It's like no.
as soon as he heard you, he was like, nah, I'm done.
You have a problem with Griff?
Move towards him. Why did you start moving as soon as he was coming? Is there a reason for that?
Yeah, we got a no straight away, didn't we?
They know.
Well, we all
One of the
thinking-
lights just
Yeah, I
went
was
off.
going to say.
Did that?
Yeah.
The lights went off as well. There we go. Actually, that's gone too. Is that right?
Z.
Oh, Z.
But is that
Yeah.
is that because I said
You go towards his direction.
is
Yeah, you
that
did
correct?
before
Could you
that,
go
yeah.
to Y for yes? Okay. Have we spoken to you before?
I'm sure we have.
Yeah.
This energy is weird.
Yeah. Have we? But then I'm wondering, are you from downstairs?
You have something to say to the gentleman here? Do good. We move to Y, if that's the case. Just find it clear, you started moving as soon as you can.
Yeah.
I'll give you your space to talk.
I was going to say, if we take into what's just been said on the board, as soon as Griff comes up, it says no, and then you go, is it because he's entered the room?
Yeah.
Go in his direction.
Do you have a problem with him? Go to Y for yes.
I'm gonna know, that's okay. Nothing to do with him.
Go to N for no, Y for yes. Do you have a problem with him? Is it that you want to talk to him?
What's that?
D. Oh,
No, E.
F.
F. Oh.
And F. The alphabet's the wrong way around.
U.
F-U.
Here we go.
Oh dear. Stop being rude, please.
Okay.
I'm also just going to say the alphabet's around the wrong way as well.
It knew that.
Yeah.
That was a
It's
C.
being rude. Yeah, it was going to go to K, won't you? Just go to guess for that, please. Confirm
Or
that.
finish it off. Go to K then, if that's what you wanted to say.
Jesus.
Well, that is Griff's favourite word. Isn't he, Jace?
Oh,
I mean, that's a thumbnail.
you know what I mean?
That face.
I'm in a bad way and you're just
know you-
laughing at me. Let's do more.
I'm not laughing at your condition.
You am? It's like
definitely
you
not.
are.
I know.
He's already told me he's going to die, so let's do more.
Let's go.
Let's go. Is this how it normally starts? Does it say?
so it will skip through the word bank in there.
Okay.
But then when you start speaking to it and kind of building the energy, it does seem to start forming sentences, and even when you ask a question, sometimes it will just not have anything for a couple of seconds, as if almost like it's thinking about it, processing what it wants the answer to be.
Does it say the words?
No.
No. I suggest you've got to read them out. So it's saying quite a few words now. Is that just the boot up menu, or?
It will just keep going through them. So like I said, it's like a spirit box in that it skips through. So it will just consistently churn things out. But supposedly, like a spirit box, they manipulate that static in order to arrange the words how they want them to.
And have you ever had any good responses from using this?
We have. It's strange. Like I said, it becomes hypnotic in a way because you're just there seeing it play out.
You're waiting for like the words to be sort of strung together into like sentences.
Yeah.
You're not just looking for individual words, really.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is we've been here for a few hours. Hold on, let's turn that light off. Being blinded me. Okay, we've been here for a few hours. Jack-o'-lantern's left. We've left the building.
Yeah.
So it's just me, Griff, Eric, and Laura. And we've come back into the Seance Room. You know, obviously we did just do a, what do you call the table we was just doing?
Glass divination.
The glass divination, yeah. And you know, they've got a few names. I think Oswald and Leslie. What was interesting is we did have the tripwire go off a few times, and me and Griff did hear a loud bang, which was quite interesting.
I heard a hiss in the room below us as well.
Actually, explain that, Jace. Jesus.
So as we all the cameras had died now.
I was getting the cinematics.
And Steve was just getting the cinematics, and I went into the room downstairs, and in the corner it was like a sss in the corner, but there was nothing recording.
And that's the room with the mirror.
The cane.
The
the wolf dream lady.
So it's just typical, isn't it? As soon as all the cameras are off,
the clowns.
It's just.
It was over by the clowns way.
And you say there's CCTV running down there.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed that's been captured.
Yeah.
So if you guys could check back and have a look at that, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, we will do.
So Spirit, this is going to be our last vigil of the night. We want to thank Laura and Eric for inviting us. Very much appreciated. You know, you've done amazing with the building. So we do like coming to these museums, these places where the artifacts are. But before we leave, we want to have some kind of definitive proof. Something that we can capture on camera and show the world. Now Griff, I'd say about 30, 40 minutes ago, he heard something hissing downstairs. Could that spirit give us a message up here? What do you want to say to us? How many people can you see in this room? Could you give us a number?
Did you hear that? Tapping. How many people can you see? 2. It went like that.
I want time. We'll give you all the time you need. Well, we'll give you 20 minutes.
Remember, there's not just this device in front of us on the TV. There's plenty of other objects in this room. You have tables you can tap on. You have candles you can mess with. And there's even us. So could you come forward for us, please? And just have a conversation. Knock on the walls. Or knock on the tables. Or even open the door at the bottom of the stairs.
before my battery just dies. We are going to wrap up the investigation right now. We are going to just sit here for a few minutes and see this, but this camera is about to die. So first of all, I just want to say a massive thank you to Laura and Eric for, like I say, letting us come check this out. It was fun hanging out with Jack-o'-lantern as well. This has been an amazing location, one that we hope we can come back here again. We've had some interesting things. It's been a fascinating place. And yeah, man, thank you so much for having us inside this amazing museum, finally. Anything you want to say, Jace, before my camera and everything all
Well, I
dies?
suppose it's anything these want to say if people want to come and see you.
Oh God, yeah. Go on, plug
So
away.
if people actually want to come and see you, where do they have to go and where can they find you and stuff?
Well, come visit us here. We're in 𝐂𝐚𝐻𝐿𝐻, Rowtons Museum. You can book online, �RowtonsMuseum.co.uk. We have guided tours, sales nights, tech nights, full ghost hunts. So even a special Christmas Vigils coming up for the holiday season. So please come by.
Yeah, I will say that this place is really interesting. It's got lots of items, lots of haunted, maybe not haunted objects, because you obviously do test runs of these items as well, and it's like under supervision and under what you've got written down saying that they've just seen if they're haunted, and if they are, they just put them in the skip or whatever they or they give them back to the owners. I'm only joking, but yeah, you should definitely come down here if you've got the time. And yeah, guys, cheers.